Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor for Brains V Brawn II. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about episode 16, week 6. Look how far we've gotten into the season. So much is going on. It was a non-elimination on a Sunday night, which surprised me, Chappell. It's the first non-elimination you've had to talk about. And let's bring in the host that I just referred to before introducing him. It is the great Chappell. Chappell, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I actually am surprised to see you here. I thought that you would be, kind of like hiding after your U.S. draft results. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do the podcast alone this week, obviously.
You're lucky. You and Pooh are lucky that you are invited back every week. I've already asked Mike if he will do all three, and then I thought, it's fine. I know how much you guys want this, and I will give you the charity of being on with me every single week. So you're very, very welcome, and you're on the thinnest of ice.
Yeah, look, your listeners deserve to hear a winner, and it just won't be you this time. So I'm here to take one of me or Puya might beat you, and then look at that. Well, I guess we already beat you, but you know what I'm saying. Your average draft placement is in the hole, and it's okay. We're here to save it. Chappell, Puya, Mike, we're here to just lift you up through these trying times.
From what I understand, even with how poorly things are going for me, you still cannot pass.
Yeah, I still can't. No,
which is crazy. Like, how far behind me are you?
Well, that's the thing. I can never get as low as you either, though. It's like you like broke the record. So it's all fair game now.
I am, much like Australian Survivor, a person of extremes. And look, usually we do save the draft gloating to the end of the podcast. It's becoming like a regular segment, which is so upsetting. Had to lead with it here. But Australian Survivor, Chappell, it's very we're watching two franchises at the same time. I'm definitely trying to sever myself between the two franchises because this had a big twist. This episode. And this had a lot going on. I felt at first I was kind of like in a whirlwind of what had happened, but now I just feel like AJ and Miles are just like running circles around everyone. They have so much crazy control, and now they've had to like put that control to a twist. But like, what a difference a week makes where we thought they were a couple of episodes ago to now where it's like they're having their cake and eating it too. Like they kind of more cake. They're like gorging themselves on strategic cake.
Yeah, they did a lot of like cool things in the background to put them in this position. The alliance with Kaylin is definitely paying off dividends because I think they're trying to keep it hidden. They're like, oh yeah, we don't necessarily need your vote for this. You can play double agent, and if that's working, then yeah, Kaylin's in on a lot of conversations he shouldn't be in on, and they are benefiting from that. They also have the numbers because of Kaylin. I mean, it's not the two of them; it's them plus Kaylin plus Paulie, who Miles went out his way to save, and we were quite questioning that. And then, of course, I think it was my episode when we first saw this, but this Kate and AJ alliance is just crazy. Like, like they at the merge, and she was like, "No, I like you." We were like, "Yeah, but like for how long?" And now we're like, "Wait, for a very long time." Now, I don't know how long she plans on riding this out, but it would be nice to find out what her long-term plans are for someone like AJ, because we know that he's not going to the end with Kate if he can avoid it. But I don't know. Maybe she's in for the long haul. I would love to see, this spice up a little bit where this new power group that is emerging, we get some more of their perspectives of, what their long-term game is. Because I'm not quite sure I know about everybody's.
Well, yeah, the KJ alliance is crazy because we actually have had a KJ in Australian Survivor. But I think the issue for the Kates and Morgans, and especially as we see the Karens of the world, is that it's not a hierarchy with AJ Miles and Kaylin on the top. Actually, they're in the middle. They've got these like poles, 10 poles on either side, which is Kate and Morgan. And then like at the bottom on the other side, Logan going into Kristen, going into Karen, and those people are, if anything, targeting each other. Like Karen's trying to take the hit at Kate and Morgan, who they're not going to work with each other. They all have to go through AJ and Miles. And I think that's why some of the strategizing on the first watch seemed a little confusing to me, because it was like these big groups. But why was it big groups? It's because AJ and Miles just have like, again, like complete power. And then when AJ decides they're talking to everyone because they're working with everyone who are only against each other. So they're very much in like the middle of this like hierarchy, while being at the top, and no one else stands much of a chance, which is, again, crazy that we got here.
It kind of reminds you of like that Tika spot, where it's like, how do y'all keep getting away with this? It's like, because we're fighting around you, and we kind of need you to make these moves so we get this other side out, and both sides are doing it. And then like, there's a little infighting as well. So yeah, I could see that for sure. I guess, you point out like how they're getting away with this, it seems like no one can stop them.
Yeah, how do they keep getting away with this?
Yeah, but they have one thing against them. It's kind of sloppy. Like the gameplay is sloppy. AJ, AJ, if you win this game, I think you really had to take a look back at your game. And I don't want to hear like, oh yeah, well, I did everything perfectly, because we got to talk. Some of these moves, like Miles likes to do things and then like clean the mess up. Like, I like to clean the mess up now so I don't get in trouble for it. Like, no. Don't go telling people, yeah, I'm just gonna flip the vote with or without you. Now what? It's like that. I had to rewind it to make sure I wasn't tripping. I was like, wait a minute. You went to them and told them, like, yeah, I probably could flip the vote. Now, you'd already flipped the vote in your mind, but you're like, I probably could flip the vote. But I would like for you to come with me. But if not, I'll probably just do my own thing. I'll just chill. Like, if I'm Zara, my head is spinning. What do you mean? You're just going to go you're just going to leave me for dead? Oh, no. So it's like, eventually this is going to run out. Like, there's no way you can keep getting away with this because everyone sees you. Everyone sees you.
Yeah. Right? Well, so much of the episode was in AJ and Miles' full control. How do they both handle having full control in different ways? They're going to come to a compromise where Miles protects Karen and AJ's obviously going to protect Kate and Morgan, which is going to make Logan a target. And Logan, is a player and she's found an idol and she's a great immunity threat. So she becomes like an easy target for them. And so that's an easy vote before we get to the twist, which we're really burying the lead of. But that becomes an easy vote. But then it becomes about how do you do it? Miles wants a strong 5 of 10, which is actually 6 with Caitlin. They're going to come back to a strong majority. And actually, this is better for AJ than for Miles because this really cements Kate and Morgan as their people. If you're going to piss off like a Zara, who might be kind of the side that Miles is on, looking more like the graduates of Karen and Zara. And Miles actually wants to do it cleanly like that and kind of cement this group that's better for AJ. AJ wants to have all the cake he's eating. He wants to keep having more cake and eating it too by telling people. Ironically, it puts people off because the way he says it is so personal. He's like, I would prefer, I can do something about this. I'm like, blame the others. It's actually true. Well, I mean, the others, you don't want Kate and Morgan to go. So I guess that part is on you. But, Miles is bringing up the Logan vote. So I feel like if you just say like, oh, they're changing the plan to that, or we've decided at least make it a communal kind of thing. But he makes it so individual that I think it really puts Zara off in just the way that he delivers it. So I back the way Miles is doing it for the first part of like, it is cleaner, it's better for AJ and the group, and it does come back to a strong majority. And also because even in what AJ's trying to do, which is offend people less, it actually ends up offending them. I want to say more, but they'd probably be pissed off at being blindsided, but it offends them anyway. So it's not working to his intended effect. So I do back Miles on the way that he's doing it. But again, even in the sloppiness they're running circles around everyone at this point.
Yeah, it's just so sloppy though. Yes, he does this thing. Zara picks up like, hey, what are you talking about? You can just go flip the vote. And then she runs and tells Karen, who is the target. Like, so if Karen,
well, at that point she's not. She had been the target. At that point, they changed it to Logan.
Yeah, but she had been out of the loop, right? They weren't telling her. It wasn't like
they weren't telling her because this was what was awkward, was that she was like, why didn't you tell me? It's like, because at the time when they made up the fake plan with you, it was always fake because you were the target. But we can't tell you that now. So now it just looks like bad communication, but actually awkwardly it was you.
Or were we ever going to tell you? Were we ever going to tell you? Or were we just going to leave you out of this vote and just be done with you? And so she shows up and she's like, yeah, I don't like hearing about last minute plans changing, and she talks about how her and AJ are kind of like a married couple, a dysfunctional one at that. And I'm like, no, I think you were about to get left out of this vote. Like, that's how I started looking. I was like, no, I think this is the divorce. This is not the like, oh yeah, we can still work together. I gotta isolate him, get rid of Morgan or Kate. Like, this is like, no, I need to be targeting him and only him. And I think she got there, but it's just like, she shouldn't have got there. This should have been a lot tighter. If you were going to leave her out of the vote and blindside her, that's the point. You blindside her. She should not be coming up to you at the beach being like, so you're about to blindside me? What's that about? Like that should not happen. And so that's why I'm like, AJ, get it together. You're so close. Get it together.
Well, the people on the bottom are like more on the bottom than they realize. I think that's why Karen feels like she's banging her head against the wall and can't get anywhere. It's like, yeah, because you don't have the numbers and you don't have the power to affect anything. If anything, you were almost a target. I don't think she realizes how on the bottom she is. And it's kind of hard watching her just like grasp at straws that she doesn't have because she's, again, more on the bottom than she realizes. And I think that's what's tough. And I think when AJ goes and is giving them information, it's incorrect information because he can't tell them the truth. That, it's like, oh, we're changing the plan from Kate and Morgan to Logan. But actually, the Kate and Morgan plan was always wrong. The people on the bottom now, like Zara and Kristen, and certainly Karen, don't know that like the plan that changed was Karen to Logan. So you're telling white lies in the way that you're communicating like you're trying to be transparent to get them on board, but you're having to lie in doing that, and that's making things really, really murky. And that's maybe why you just kind of like shore up a majority and like keep it trucking, especially if, again, your intended purpose is to make them feel better by including them, but you make yourself just sound like a dictator who is like, I'm doing this. And it's very easy to believe because it's like, oh, you changed off the Kate and Morgan vote, which is something AJ would do. And you're saying you did by using this very individual language, but actually that's not what happened. What happened was that was never even a vote, but we can't tell you that. So it's very, very hard to try and manage people who are on the bottom as if they're in your alliance, because they're simply not at this point. We've really buried the lead of the, we're going to talk about the dynamics. We've really buried the lead of the twist. The twist happened. There was no vote tonight. And we were both confused. I actually, I don't know if other people were confused because it has not aired yet, but I actually asked some of the players, what the twist was, just to make sure. And I had been wrong about it. So just to clarify what I've heard and what it is and what makes sense actually with what JLP ends up saying, it's not going to be like a proper swap. They're in these two different groups, Bounty and Baron, till the immunity challenge. Then they're going to go to a communal 10-person vote, and they can only vote out half the tribe. So it's murgatory. I thought they were going to tribal council in these little groups, that it was like a mini swap, like a post-merge swap, like the way they break them up into groups, also in US Survivor. Honestly, I like what I thought better. We can talk about it. I don't think this is terrible. I think it's kind of low stakes. Like, to put them into a 2-vote murgatory, we do see in murgatory people are often very conservative, just kind of voting out someone on the bottom without trying to ruffle feathers, because it's quite restricted, very restricted. And I do think this will probably play out as like a 2-vote conservative vote of just taking someone out on the bottom, which is fine. It's not like upending the game in any way. I just thought that the complexity of trying to vote in and choose groups to go to a swap and balancing who to put in to try and make up separate majorities, while also emotionally kind of dooming sacrifices, like say a Paulie to Baron to try and get numbers into that group, was very complex and interesting. I think putting Pauline as a target was an unforced error that was completely unnecessary, which we can talk about. But if you want numbers, yeah, you might have to sacrifice a Paulie to try be a number without offending him. I think that was a lot more complex and a lot more difficult, which we can talk through as well. So yeah, I thought it was going to be those kind of swap groups, which I thought was going to be really interesting, especially because we don't see these little tribes in Australian Survivor, so it's more novel rather than US Survivor, like always going back to the tiny tribes. But yeah, it's going to be murgatory, where the majority will continue to have their voting power to take out a target from either group, which I think gives them a lot more agency than we would have thought than possibly going into a swap situation.
Yeah, but what did you think about just the fact that they even did the like have and have nots portion of this, right? Like the Baron, like why bury this other tribe? What is the point of just being like, yeah, not only we're just gonna punish you for no reason, and then we're gonna basically make you a sitting duck for the other, like this other group that is pretty much, for the most part, random. This is gonna give like for you 5, you have random power this time. You're gonna get breakfast, you're gonna get all this other stuff, you're gonna get advantage in the challenge, as long as you're willing to vote off one of these others. Like it's like, and then like you here, happy, here's a reward for just existing, and just to me, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I like it actually, because I think it's very emotional. And I do think that this is not even the beginning, but we're now like well into the arc of Paulie's villain origin story. Like he's becoming a super villain. He even has the mask. Like let's talk it through. So almost voted out 4 times. 2 different idols had to be used on him, and there was a quit in 3 of those 4 times. He burnt his mask. He got hit in the head. He chose a pickle over a call home. And now he's being voted into Baron for reasons that are still shocking to me. I'm like, where is Kristen? Why are they never choosing Kristen as like the target? Like they want Paulie as a possible expendable target. Make that Kristen. Maybe they see Paulie as just like more of an active threat. Like he's a number for you. Poor Paulie. It has to be said. So I think the emotionality of, especially on a rainy night, like, really giving some people everything and for one day and then giving other people nothing is very, very interesting. When I thought that it was a swap, I'm like, this is great. Because again, if you are in the majority and you're looking to have numbers in a 5-person tribe, actually what you should do is not just send Paulie, but maybe for someone like a Miles, even volunteer to be like, Paulie, you and I will go together so you feel less bad about that. And we can hopefully just get one other number of like an AJ or a Kaylin or even like a Zara for them. And like Miles is very protected. He could probably even have like a Karen, and he has his idol. I'd be volunteering to try have those numbers. But yeah, it would suck to try bring Paulie to that. So it was a complexity of like sacrificing someone to a bad situation, but needing those numbers and the complexity of that. Now that I know that it's just Murgatory, you can just vote your targets kind of into Baron, which is more likely to lose. And then you'll probably have, again, you have like a 6-person majority. So the odds of you having at least one person, like they have a Karen now on Bounty. She's probably not in a great spot. They're actually talking about Kate and Morgan, but I think Karen would be in a really bad spot if Bounty happened to lose. So I think having targets is a lot easier. So that's kind of what I'm saying about this twist is that, yeah, it sucks to go to Baron, but firstly, there's some agency in that you're voting people there. So some of the people have, done something wrong socially to get to that point.
Yeah.
And even if you go to Baron, okay, you have one bad night, but if you lose, if you're not in the majority, you'll go home. If you're in the majority, they still have the power to keep you. So the stakes are very low. I never thought I would say this about Australian Survivor. The twist is too subtle, maybe. Like, and look, that's a lot better than the alternative of me here raging about like the episode 10 tribal last time for 45 minutes. But I think that going into a swap with some complex agency of deciding the groups would have been higher stakes and also pretty fair, probably without the challenge advantage, just putting it some on the scale a bit, but like pretty fair overall with agency to create it. I think that would have been a good amount of stakes. This I think is like low stakes. And at the end of the day, if you're voted out by the whole tribe next time, like, and you even probably got, somewhat got to Baron for half of them, 2 of them, or like due to your decisions or due to your positioning, and then you still have to be voted out by the majority. No one's going to say that person was screwed. Like there were enough rounds of majority voting and agency to create that. So yeah, it doesn't upend the game at all. It's probably a little bit too low stakes, which I never thought I would say. But don't take the wrong message. If production is listening, don't take the wrong message from that. It's fine. It's better than the opposite. But that's just, I just never thought that I would say that about a twist, that I would have pushed it a little bit further maybe.
I mean, I really thought it was going to be I thought it was a swap, but I definitely did because I was like, oh yeah, they're sending Paulie to Baron. So then if they get to Baron, then they have the majority. I was like, oh yeah,
no, they sent Paulie for no reason. They sent Paulie as just a target. It's so
yeah.
Why? Poor Paulie. Yeah. What did he do to deserve? Why not Kristen? Why isn't it just Logan and Kristen? And then you hope to have like a Karen on the other side, or if you get a Paulie on the side, maybe then you have to sacrifice him at Bounty. But why would you put him there as a definite target, especially because like you have Logan there, so it'll just be Logan. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a shiny person. I think we don't talk about Paulie enough as just being like he's a beacon. Like he cannot hide in the game. He doesn't know how, right? Like he stayed like this man is like a walking strategy. Like he's just like I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta save myself. And he finally gets to chill. But even when he's chilling, Shannon, we haven't got to the auction yet. But I mean, he even like tried to game the auction. Like, I don't need to talk to my loved ones. I need food. Sir, talk to your loved ones, you heartless robot. It's like, I don't think he's that. But I think if you're like looking at him as a target who is always spinning and always trying to work stuff out, snake oil salesman or whatever they keep calling him, then you do something like that. People are like, classic Paulie. It's like, of course, Paul. When he did it, I was like, of course, Paulie didn't take that. Like he's thinking about how can I stay in this game? He doesn't, they don't have a choice but to put Paulie on Baron. They just don't.
They do. They have thousands of choices.
You can't give him too much. You can't. You give this man an inch, he's gonna take a mile. You let him eat breakfast. He's about to demolish y'all in this challenge. He will be fine. And y'all's side is going to win, and y'all aren't going to be able to get him this round. You'll have to get him next time. And
why are they trying to get him? He has no allies. Like he's barely
because he should be gone, Shannon. This is why. Because Paulie should have been gone. Paulie has been a target since low-key week 1. He could have gone home. He was definitely
like more the swap, I think.
Yeah, but still, like he's been a target for a long time. Like you said, look at all the things that have come in and just like happened to him. He's still here. People are leaving the game and saving him. He's just like he's a cat with 9 lives, and it's like at some point you gotta get Paulie. So I understand. I don't like it, but I understand.
I don't understand it. No, he's working with you as a number with no other power who just wants to be loved. Saving someone to be like your little like split puppet is not the vibe that I personally understand. Like, especially when you have Kristen there. Like, if push comes to shove,
you're like, don't make Paulie your split puppet. Make Kristen your split.
Kristen's not working with you. Like, Paulie's meant to be in the 6. I don't understand why they keep doing this to him, and it's pushing him. And the thing is, like, yeah, if Paulie goes, you don't need his number. Like, Kate, take Paulie out, and then you have 5 of 9 with Kate and Morgan. Like, they have numbers, but you don't really want Paulie to turn. Again, they are running rings around everyone. It should be fine. But, like, it just what like why push him into turning on you? He votes for AJ on the revote once he's been sent to Baron. And that is incredibly silly because AJ's not going to be a target for the majority because AJ is the majority. So you want Logan there with you. Like Logan will be the primary head of you, and that's what ends up happening. But he doesn't vote that way. But that's how much he's been pushed to the brink of the supervillain origin story for reasons unknown to me. It's so it does make sense. And like Paulie's making some decisions. Like, yeah, Paulie, they're not giving you two good things, and like calling home is meant to be the good thing in the non-auction. So that was on you. Unfortunately, food wasn't given to you as an option. Your thing was to call home, and it was in the moment he was like, "It's going to be food or a call home." Like, no, they would have made it that easy. It's a good thing and a bad thing, and this is the good thing. And he ate a pickle. That one was on him. But everything else, I do think is like they should be managing Paulie a lot better than they are. If you save someone just to kind of abuse them, at a point they're going to turn on like Frankenstein's monster on their maker. And I do think, Miles is putting it out there, and that's probably my small criticism of Miles in this episode, because it, again, is quite an easy twist to navigate. A lot easier than I thought it was. It's not about sending Paulie
they probably didn't understand it either.
As a target. Well,
they
honestly,
didn't know in the moment.
I think that's why I was confused, because that's the only reason you send Paulie would be as a number. Yeah, I think that they should have given them, I think that if you want to give the minority a chance, then this isn't the way to do it. Like, I think they're giving the minority a chance by being like, 2 people will be voted in. Like, AJ's 1 vote from being voted into Baron, right? But the thing is as well, I mean, they had enough numbers to split, and then AJ doesn't go on the revote. But even if AJ is in Baron, he's not going home. In the majority aren't going to vote him out. I think that what you want to do is, if it's a swap tribe and it's a small swap tribe, firstly, the minority have the opportunity, because the majority are making these complex decisions of sending sacrifices who then may turn. So kind of like pushing like, well, who gets to be the sacrifice? That's a complex decision. You could even do it not even as 2 people, the top 2 vote getters. You could do it as 2 separate votes and really let the majority decide, because they're deciding something actually quite difficult. And then the minority still have the element of luck to get into a swap tribe. And so they could still maybe even have the numbers in a small tribe. So it would give them a lot of rope. I feel that this doesn't. I feel like this will just, take out someone on the bottom, whether a Logan or a Karen tomorrow night, who just, there's nowhere else to move when the majority still have the power. Anyway, I should stop talking about the swap, because it's not a swap. I need to let go of the fact that wasn't the twist.
It's not a swap.
That's just
I was ready for it to be a swap. I thought like, sending Paulie was so interesting. I can't wait to talk about it with Shannon. And now I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So it was even, I'm glad that I clarified, because that's not how I felt, because it really feels like the Paulie decision made it feel like they were trying to get numbers, but it was actually just a target, which is so much worse. The one good thing is that hopefully no more non-eliminations. If it's the final 2, I think that this is it. And again, it was fine. Like it could have been more, but the game has been left certainly intact. What did you think about this this non-auction? Just in general. I mean, we're calling it the auction. It's not an auction. It was a game of chance. Yeah, it was more US Survivor. We were flipping coins and rolling dice more. That's kind of more what we see across the pond in the US.
Yeah. I like this better than the US auction. I'll say it. I don't care. Because I think
low bar, which is because
the auction is just so weird over in the US. Like you got to go and find the money, and then you have to use the money. But if you use the money too much, we could give you more money back just because. And then if you're the person with the most amount of money left at the end, then you lose your vote. It's like, why? Why?
No, this qualifies a new era. It's eating itself.
Right. It's like, why are we doing this? Whereas this is like, hey, there's a 50-50 chance that you get something good, you get something bad. And it's even probably the chance is probably not even that, right? Because they have to pick the correct side, and they have to flip the coin of which side if they get to pick, So I'm like, all right, that's interesting. And everybody gets to go. Everybody goes. I think when you're not just like, I don't know, like in the US, it was always like, we got to save our money. We got to hoard stuff so that we can get the good advantage when it comes out. I got to wait. I got to make sure I'm the one who has the money to buy the advantage. It's like, here it is. It's like, flip the coin, left or right, heads or tails, whatever. Because even in the US, you got people buying French fries and that being like a game-changing advantage, So it's like, whatever. It's by chance anyway. I like this way better.
Well, I don't understand why people can't just do a regular auction, which is usually what we do in Australian Survivor. I think like whatever, it's fine to try new things. I don't think this is as good as just an auction. I think that the issue with this is that it was a very individual game of chance, right? So it was more just like people went up in a random order and chose their thing. The only element of kind of competition was that Kate got the ability to steal something. And even then, like there was no love lost. She was just going to take the next good thing in the random order that they seem to go in. Whereas in an auction, like there's an innate competitiveness to outbidding each other that I think is what gives it kind of its source. Not the source that they had on their various food items, but, you know, the kind of like energy of the auction. Like, you know, I thought you poorly made an interesting decision because it was, again, so like such an unforced error where it was clearly not the thing to do. Even Kate, like, you know, from Australian Survivor, that's not going to be like an idol clue. Actually, surprising there was no like lolly jar with idol clue in it or something. Usually we see something like that, like Raymond got his advantage, and maybe that was just not flipped for in this. But you would think it would be something like it would be a high or a low in the auction that I thought Kate would get, which is either like you've bought yourself out of the auction or you've kind of bought everything to come, you know, the beggar's plate. Yeah, so I think that was worth just kind of taking as like a, you know, it's either going to be an auction-based reward or punishment, which was worth it for her. But that was the only real competitive thing. Otherwise, I just thought it was, again, a little low stakes. It ended up just being kind of like an individual, silly little game, which is fine. I like seeing them get food and, you know, all of that and the call home. Like, that's a fun part of the auction. But I think the innate competitiveness was missing, and that's the other fun thing. And I think that trying new things was fine, but just the auction, like, ain't broke. Don't try to fix it. Just give us the auction as is every season, and I love it.
Yeah, because even if you compare it to the other auction in the US, it's like the stakes are a little higher because you could lose your vote, right? And then you also
too high probably. And
right.
Yeah.
And then also like, you know, your goal is to spend all your money, and so you're actually trying to get out because, you know, the time's ticking and you don't know when it's going to stop. So there are some good things over there for sure. I still don't like it. But one of the things I want to point out about this auction is that this is a game of chance, and, you know, the fate was just not on their side this time. I mean, the most mid-auction items ever won in an auction. Bread, there was a pickle, a bowl of rice, a coconut, like all in a row. I was like, bro, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to do this. Is there anything good under there? And then when Paulie is one of the first ones to get something, and he's like, yeah, I'll turn that down and get the pickle. You know, it was like, okay. I think Kaz locked into, like, just lucked up on a lemon meringue pie, which was cool. And then, you know, Kate scrolls are steak and fries. But the first half was just, you know, nothing for these people. Starve.
Yeah, I do think, like, Paulie, the issue was Paulie. You should know that, like, calling your family is meant to be the prize. Like, that's not the booby prize. Like, you got the good thing, and
you're lucky there was something even under the other side. Like, it wasn't just like two phones.
Yeah, exactly. It created like a, you know, it was because of an unforced error. That was the most interesting part of the auction, but you wouldn't expect that to happen. It felt like it was easy to game. Like, you either, like, you get heads or tails, or, you know, you don't, and then you either get something good or bad. But if you see something good, you're going to take it. And that Paulie didn't do that. And that should have been unavailable. Like, that shouldn't have been something that happened. And that's what made it interesting. Like, that one decision, which I do think is contributing to a very interesting Paulie arc. I'd love to talk about, we could go in either direction. I don't know which side of the kind of hierarchy I should start on. Let's talk about Karen. Because it's a very interesting spot. Peter was asking me, like, if you're Karen and you're on the bottom and you're trying so hard and you can't get anywhere because you're more on the bottom than you even realize, what do you do? And I'm like, it's a really bad spot. I don't think I back what Karen is doing, which is throwing things that she can't even get done at the wall. As an example, voting for AJ into Baron was, you know, they didn't have the numbers to do it even on the first time, let alone on the revote. You know, he's not going. You voted for him through 2 rounds of voting, and he's not even going home. Like, she keeps trying to get at AJ with these small plans of, like, I might just split on him and just see how he likes it. Like, I'd never back the half measure, and I don't think she has the capacity to do a full measure right now. I think for Karen, what's hard as well is, like, again, she's trying to get, like, to a Kate and Morgan, and she can get to them as little as she can even get to it, clearly, in AJ and Miles, and it's not even like the big bad. So I think I would either bide my time and wait for the crack, which is a horrible spot to be in, or maybe you just go for broke on, like, an AJ and Miles fully, and you go to Kate and you said Miles said your name, and you're like, break up AJ and Miles. Like, if they're trying, if AJ is thinking he'll take you out to try and kind of, I mean, if Miles is thinking he'll take you out to kind of weaken AJ, why don't you take Miles out to really try and get AJ? Because that's a big thing in this season. I'm going to take out that person's partner so they're closer to me and not just, like, desperately upset, which is something I don't really agree that people feel when you take out their partner. But I think if only, again, it's not chess, but if only she had the connection through to a Kaden Morgan to be like, wait, why do they hold all the cards and we're on separate sides? What if we all come together and take out the people in power who have said all our names in this episode? Not that Karen knows, but Karen's name's obviously being said by AJ. Miles protects that. Kaden Morgan, Miles is, well, I mean, he floats, he agrees to it to Karen. He could be lying and he doesn't go with it.
He could be lying, yeah.
Yeah, but like if you just use the name to try and really get at the big dogs, I mean, you can't even get the medium dogs with Kaden Morgan. So I mean, you might as well go for broke or you wait around. But I feel like she's just trying to like almost irritate the power structure to try and get anything done. She can't even get anything done. And if anything, she's probably making herself a nuisance. We can talk about it with like like telling Logan about the idol. She's making herself a nuisance to the point where they might just take her out anyway. It's not a good spot, but I don't know that even in that terrible spot that she's playing it as well as she could be.
Well, I don't think she knows that she's in that spot. I think that she thinks she's at the top. Like I don't think she thinks she's at the bottom at all. I think that she's like, if you're just looking at the numbers and you don't know, like if you know what she knows, right? She has Zara, she has AJ, she has Miles, she has Kristen, and she has Kaylin. But like she does not have Kaylin. She does not, and she doesn't have AJ. And she doesn't have Miles. Like, but
Miles is protecting her in a very individual way, but no, she's not in the numbers.
She's not in the number, and she thinks she is, and it's because of that damn alliance, the graduates, because that's what ties her and Zara with Miles, AJ, and Kaylin. And so she's like, no, we're all together. It's like, no, you're not. Kaylin. We finally get strategic conversation from Kaylin in this episode. We got a confessional about what Kaylin wants. And he says, I want Karen out. Like the first time we hear this man speak, essentially, he says like, hey, she's not with us. And so I think that's the problem. It's not that she's playing it wrong. She's playing the cards that she thinks she has. And she just doesn't have those cards. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not working here. Because she's thinking, AJ is trying to build something with Kaden Morgan. Let me go shut that down because that could be a problem. It's too late.
It's built. Yeah,
it's built.
It's a
done.
Skyscraper. Yeah, it's
right. And that's not his plan A. Yeah, that's like his plan. Like he's got plan A with Miles and Kaylin. Like that's cooking. All right. It's the Kaden Morgan. You're trying to stop that. That train's already left the tracks. And so that's why I'm like, it's hard 100%. Because she's been doing so good narrating the season. That like you said earlier, like she was the one who with the plot armor. You know, it's like, okay, Karen's gonna be around for a while. And I'm thinking, I don't know. The Bounty Tribe loses, and I don't think how does she survive this?
She's in a very bad spot in the Bounty Tribe. And even in like, I think what's so hard is that again, she's trying to affect things and can't, and maybe she should look at that of like how little power she has. It's frustrating her. It should be giving her more information, I think, to like, this is a very, very bad spot to be in. And they're so much more onto her than she realizes. Like we look at the fact that she told Logan about the idol. Now that's played out in a way that Logan was going to go in this episode and hadn't thrown Karen under the bus. So it worked out better on the loyalty than I kind of thought that it would for Karen. But it feels like, firstly, Logan was immediately going to go. So like, was the juice worth the squeeze on the fact that she's just like at the bottom anyway? And so are you. And the worst part about it is they're so onto her. We actually know, and we spoke about this on the feedback show, they were so onto her and distrusting her so much that they changed the split, that they told a fake split to Karen so that she wouldn't know the right kind of idol target. And then Miles jumped back onto the alpha, making it a 6-3-2 instead of like a 5-4-2, which she should, I think, be able to look at that and realize like, wait, why didn't I know the right split number? So even from before she was telling Logan, they were so onto her that they were lying to her about the actual split, which Miles tweeted about, which I thought was a really interesting way to play that. So they've clocked her and she has nowhere to go right now. I think that if she has any chance in the world, it's just on AJ and Miles. It's everyone clocking the fact that AJ and Miles are so in control. And just Miles is protecting her, but for how long? And at a point, he might not be able to. It might be next episode if Bounty were to lose. I don't know that there's another target. Are they going to go for Kaden Morgan? I don't think they should. I don't think AJ is allowing that to happen. And I think Kaylin wants Karen out more. I feel like Miles might have to part with her if it were to get to that point where Bounty loses. And I think that that's their group. I think that there's, a 5 with a 6 of Paulie, a 5 into 9. Once someone goes next, if a Karen goes next, and it's a very comfortable group. I think the only thing that could maybe help her is that people are starting to look at physical targets, looking at that final challenge. But unfortunately, while that helps her, it also helps a Miles and an AJ, especially like an AJ, people keep saying, I won't be good at endurance. Mm-hmm. And if you want to take a shot at the people at the top, people don't see them as physical threats as much. but they have so much power. This is kind of the spot that like George was in Heroes versus Villains. I felt like they should take out George because he had so much power. He was deciding everyone's fate. They were playing it like the Liz's and Matts and Jerry's of the world are playing it like, okay, well, maybe more like a Matt and especially a Matt, but like a Matt and a Liz, like George will get taken out at the very end. I can beat him at the final challenge and I'll deal with it then. It's like, but my point was always, but he will decide everyone's fate until you get there, and you might fall on the wrong side of that.
Yeah,
all of them narrowly did. So it's more like, do you want to go up against them in the final challenge and win, but know that they have like carved out the path to the final challenge that might not include you? I still think I'd rather go with a physical threat and take them out maybe in due course, but try and get numbers on the fact of like, does anyone see the fact that AJ and Miles are running everything and playing us all against each other? Why don't we just gang up on them? I know it sounds easy, so easy from the couch, but I feel like that's our only shot, and it's a tiny non-existent shot, but that's all I see for Karen, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's tough. I think about Kate and Morgan and thinking like, okay, what is y'all's long-term goal for these AJ and Miles thing? Like, are you like, okay, they obviously people don't like them, so let's take them as far as we can. You know, maybe that's what it is. I mean, they're obviously another duo. They're probably a bigger threat strategically than we are, or at least maybe we can hide behind them, you know, and pretend that they are. But I'm thinking the same thing. Like, okay, if they're gonna get out Karen here is probably, or Karen or Logan will probably go next, right? Just based on what the numbers are on each of this like sides of this.
And Kristen, no one thinks about Kristen.
And Kristen, I don't know if Kristen's being dragged along. You know, is she supposedly a goat? You know, who knows? But I think that if you're looking at Kate and Morgan, are they counting on like, nah, we'll keep Kristen around because then we can grab Kristen and take out AJ and Miles. You know, like what we don't really get their long-term plans as much as we get like AJ and Miles. We see them strategizing a lot more than Kate and Morgan. I don't know if we've ever seen Kate and Morgan together just have a conversation. You know, like it's always
we saw them say they really liked AJ.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think they were talking to AJ. You know,
no, they're talking to each other at that point.
I thought there was AJ was right there, and they were like, oh,
to each other.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like,
so
yeah, like you never really see them just talking, because I would love to see like, okay, as a pair, how are we moving? You know what I'm saying? Like that would be fun, and I don't ever think we get that from them. So yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, I don't even know if I've ever said Kate without saying and Morgan. I feel like it's like when I speak, it's like when my text, like predictive text, where it just says Kate and Morgan, it just fills it in like it's one word. I think what was interesting for Kate and Morgan, which we know separately that they were close to Laura, and in the extra voting confessionals on 10play, which by the way, people have been asked about Jury Villa. Laura's Jury Villa was uploaded to 10play after the feedback show. So that is there if you want to check it out. But we saw on the votes that Kate and Laura said this in her X interview, wanted Logan out to try and get Laura back, which is, again, a huge theme of the season, which is something I don't hugely agree with from a social perspective. But what is so interesting for Miles and AJ is this actually went better. Like the fact that Logan played the idol and Laura went was better for them, because that would be one other option that Kate and Morgan have on the side of AJ and Miles in Laura. I think Laura was a harder target to get, which again makes her a better target, because if it's harder to pull off, it means she's actually more insulated compared to how much stock Logan has lost in the last few episodes, seemingly from our perspective. Even the way that she responded coming back in this episode, like Logan has Karen, but even Karen can't save her, and Karen is nowhere. You know, Logan has
she's at the bottom with her.
Yeah, but Laura was an option. Yeah, exactly, for Kate and Morgan, who are in the power. And I don't know if Laura also just would have been like throwing, you know, anything at the wall and not getting anything to stick like a car and being at the bottom. But I do think that it would have been an option for Kate and Morgan that they now don't have, because she went on the split, which was actually way better for AJ and Miles. So I do think that's really interesting. And it leaves Logan here as someone who's kind of always going to be like a big, loud enough target, like here if you need to use it. But also if she skates by for a little bit, has really nothing. So it worked out very well for AJ and Miles that split went the way that it did. Like, thank you, Karen. This was better.
Yeah, they talk about Karen like she's not going to be like a long-term threat physically, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like I remember the early days. Like she was a physical ass.
That's
like,
true. But I think the thinking endurance.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's different, right? Like it's different than like the running and tackling people challenges. But I thought I was like, hey, she's gonna be an asset, you know, in the challenges. So maybe she can turn it on. But we see that, you know, like even Kate is an immunity threat that we didn't know about, right? Like I mean, she's won, but then this like impressive ass, you know, endurance challenge with her and Logan that lasts so long. You know, when you see something like that for Logan, this is really bad, right? You go an hour or so and then you lose. So it's kind of like, if we were going to let
Yeah.
you slide, you just proved why we shouldn't, because you
Yeah.
almost won, you know? So like, I was like, if you go an hour or so, you gotta do it until your foot fall off. She moved because there was a spider on her foot. Like, you're too late. I was like, you're too far gone. You have to let it bite you. You know, like, at this point, you
You
can't.
are Spider-Woman now.
Right, you have to be Spider-Woman now, because it's too late for you to tap out. Like, if you're gonna lose it in the first few seconds, and they say, oh, you know what, she's actually not that good, you know. But Kate, who won, I think is now, you know, getting a bigger target. You know, she's dragging an Olympian around with her and using her as a shield. Like, look at Morgan, isn't she an Olympian? But at the same time, it's like the challenge and results are not lying. So I think that they got to figure out a plan, because eventually it's going to be too hard to ignore that pair.
Yeah, well, I mean, Logan is Spider-Woman now, and I think that Paulie's maybe like Two-Face at this point, with the, you know, being hit on the side of the head. I think that's probably the villain that I'm going with, like the Harvey Dent of it all. But yeah, I mean, I think that like Logan's a great target anyway, because she's a good compromise. Like Miles and AJ have different interests, and they've come to a compromise where Logan's a good target, and then you can be like, look how well she did in the challenge. Like, it just gives that kind of extra argument, which, yeah, I do think is unfortunate for Logan, because she's kind of, they're always going to look at her a little bit, even though maybe they should forget about her. But there's going to be all these arguments to kind of, again, because she's such a great communal compromise for the majority, and she's a physical threat. But what I want to talk to you about, because I never let things go. Okay, you can ask my husband. Let's talk about knowledge is power, because the more like I'm so interested. It was such a highly debated move that Miles made, and we keep getting more information. And we've not spoken to you about it, so I first want to get your take in general. But I also feel like, for me, the more information I get, the more it changes the move. Like, okay. I got information that he could amass separately, I think, but could amass a majority. I thought when he made that play, it was like a Hail Mary and he's on the bottom. Not only was he on the bottom, he could amass a really strong majority after. So the stakes, I think, were a lot lower for Miles making that move than I thought, which changes my thinking around it. And now I know that not only could he make a majority, but he could maintain a majority. Like, look how much power they have here, where even when like Logan's been so defanged, you think, okay, maybe we start looking at like a Miles and AJ. They're not targets at all. Everyone else is a possible target but them. So how do you look back at that move now, seeing where Miles and AJ are at? Do you think that move worked out? Like, how do we look back at this whole week of Miles and AJ, who made that move, seemed like they were on the bottom, amassed a majority, are the kings of the tribe, and look like they will continue to be the kings of the tribe for at least the short-term future?
Yeah, we just underestimated their numbers, like the connection that they did have, right? Like, so like once they were able to remove Laura, like it kind of freed up their relationships to kind of blossom a little bit more. Like I don't think we were aware of the wedge there was going to be between Kate and Logan. You know, like Kate's like, I don't like this Logan, the way she's acting, the way she's reacting, all that kind of stuff. Like that was like a complete like boom. So with that, she has nowhere else to go but Logan's mortal enemy, and that's, you know, AJ. He's right there, like, come on, you know, and he is working that relationship. So maybe they just had a better feel for, like, you know, if those girls were going to work with them or not. Because you know, Logan also will go on to put a target on her back because she is Logan. We find this out. I don't think I was aware of this going into these last couple episodes, but it just came out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, like Logan is a loose cannon. You know, Logan is she's scorched earth. And there were seeds, now that I think about it, because remember, I think it was when they first like started to break apart, I guess when the coven, I guess, started to break apart, you know, people weren't always saying glowing things about Logan. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe
like she was managing it way more than like the Zaras and Lauras
like
of the world.
Right?
Yeah, it did feel that way.
It felt like Zara was the one who people were going to be like,
Chippy points for that.
Yeah. But now it's like, no. Oh, you know what? The biggest clue is, when Laura goes, she looks at us at home in her exit and is like, yeah, and now they have to deal with the wrath of Logan. And I was like, what is she? Like, she telegraphed it. She was like, nah, she's not going to go quietly. And it must be apparent, right? Like, if people know you have that speed to you, it's because you let them know. And so it happened, and she cannot hide it. There's a very big difference between her and Paulie. Paulie is willing to work with anybody, anytime, all the time, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, tag me in. Logan is like, I don't care. I like, this is not even about alliances. It's about friendship. Like, she's drawing the line in the sand. She gets voted to Baron, and the first thing she does is look at Kaylin like, really, Kaylin? Really?
Yeah.
You know, like, that type of player is like, first of all, I don't know if you want her as first on the jury, number one. Like, you know, if they feel like the stigma with the person being first on the jury having so much influence, I don't know if I would want that to be Logan. But also, like, you know, you kind of don't really want her on the jury anyway. Like, you feel like if you burn Logan like this, she's gonna burn you back. So I don't know. I thought the move was odd, but now, like you said, given more information, it does look like there were some stronger bonds and some bigger, you know, cracks in everybody else, where it just needed just that jostling of Laura to shake things up. But Shannon, did you remember my response to you on Blue Sky?
You
I was
wanted
like,
them to keep the idol, the public idol, and then walk in both wearing both idols the next time. Yeah.
I felt like I was like, this is the sexy move. This is the one. You let PD go or whatever, and then you're like, all right, or Paulie go.
Who went, yeah.
You let Paulie go, and then the next time when everybody, like, no one's really expecting you. And if you're next, if you're on the bottom, you come in and you like, boom, we got the things. We have the things. Let's do it. You know, and now we're going to pick off one of you and y'all get to help us decide. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm going to vote for Karin and you're going to vote for Kate and let's see what happens. You know, like maybe really go in there and shake it up. Maybe it's too cute. I don't know. But I thought it was like everybody else's moves. They sounded fun, but I felt like mine was the sexiest.
No, I had a sexy, cute move. Okay.
It was okay.
Minority vote split, Chappell.
It was naughty at best, but like it was
a sexy move.
Okay, whatever. It was fine. I like hearing you talk about it. Yeah, it was cool because you came into Zach and Mary and Omer. I don't think they were ready for you because you were like, I got it, y'all. I'm taking this to the next level. But I was thinking, it's still not like yours is here, but mine was like right there.
No, okay. Firstly, it would have been incredible. Paulie, did you vote for who I told you to vote for? 1 vote minority vote split, 2 votes on Logan. Lulled her into the false sense of security. 2 votes on Logan, she goes home, or it's split on Laura anyway. There's so many levels of shock to it, and it's sexy AF. But my concern is that possibly neither of our sexy moves were necessary. I mean, very fun, right? Both very fun. But we are operating like Miles was on the bottom. Like, I think that you do the sexy minority vote split and the slightly less sexy, we both wear the idol move. If you're on the bottom and you're trying to like upend everything, which is what I kind of wanted him to do. Now, your move, while sexy, less sexy than mine. But your move expends 2 idols, or they crack and you don't play them. But like risk 2 idols. Don't play them. Okay, but risk 2 idols and makes you a target, which they don't need to do. More and more now seeing them maintain the power. I think what I lean to 70% at this point, and I keep leaning more. The more power I see them amass, the more power I see them maintain. I think I just lean to them doing nothing because your move, we were seeing 2 idols. They've kept their 1 idol. I think they could have maybe even kept the idol stealer and done nothing. You let Paulie go. I mean, he's a number who could have created a split for them, but Karin was still wishy-washy. But like, you didn't even need to do it for Paulie. You didn't even need Paulie that much, and you're not treating him that well right now. They had so many numbers and so many options. Like, maybe you just do nothing and then just continue on with power. And then if it ever gets dicey, you have the bag of tricks. I lean to that. The 30% of doing my sexy move, firstly, because so cool and fun, and the coolest and the funnest of all the options, or whatever. This is like kind of for the macro idea of doing any sexy move. But I think with mine especially, it would have been okay because Logan was a fine target. Like, people weren't going to be that mad at Logan as a target. So I think that you can do it and then amass the numbers later. I just don't think they necessarily really needed to. And so I do think that, like, while I lean to doing nothing, all the fun thing, like, if what he wants to do is do a move that might be worth $500,000, have the cool jury move, then you do one of our things, probably my thing. But like,
mine is right there.
If you want the sparks and the fireworks, I don't think PD was that. I think you can get full fireworks by taking out Logan and still come back to an okay situation because people are fine with Logan. Or I guess if you take out Laura on the split, one of them going. I just don't know that you really need to do it. So while I lean to like 30% fireworks, 70% just leave it. So I'm kind of criticizing still the fact that he took out PD in the way that he did. I want to say that my harshest criticism is now it just feels like it maybe wasn't necessary. And that's still a very small criticism compared to what I thought, which was like, oh, you've just made yourself a target and you haven't even used your ammo to amass numbers, which wasn't true because then they separately went and amassed a ton of numbers. So whether they knew they were going to do that, because again, it seemed like they thought Kate and Morgan were against them and they thought they had Karin, and they've tentatively had Karin at best, whether they knew they were going to do that or whether they, either way, like if it was a 2-part move that then they made good on, good for them. If they knew they were going to have those numbers, good for them. I think what I'm trying to say, and I hope I'm making sense, is that the criticism is minor about what they did, because it turns out they were playing with house money, right? So it's like, make the flashy move, you probably would have been okay. Do nothing,
Yeah.
seems like you're going to be okay and have power in the future. And maybe that's why I lean to it, because you just have more in the bag of tricks now. Even what they did, you're doing great, you know? So I think I need to, I want to pare back the criticism, even if, again, I would do something differently, because I just keep seeing that they were so in control that I can't be too harsh, because they were just like running rings around everyone apparently, and they made good on it, and they continue to make good on it. So I can't be that harsh, knowing they were in or got themselves to such a good spot, if that makes sense.
But are you just being results oriented? Like,
I don't want to be results oriented. It's my pet peeve, Chappell.
It sounds like you're being results oriented. It sounds like you're like, now that I see that it's working, they actually had all of this going on behind the scenes that we didn't see. When in reality, maybe they did a thing that they shouldn't have done, and then they were able to pull it all together. Maybe that's what happened.
I grapple with it because I never want to be results oriented, because it is truly, like, Taryn, if you're listening, it's one of my 40 pet peeves. Believe me, I hate results oriented thinking, and I hate being simplistic like that. However, I think it's one of two things. Like, I think that they either knew they were going to have the numbers, and we didn't have the information of knowing that they could be as close to Kate and Morgan. So they knew more than we did. So the criticism was, again, based on a positioning that wasn't true. Or I think it was a two-part move about amassing numbers, which they then did. You know what I mean? Like, if my criticism was do it to amass numbers, well, I don't know that that exact move is what helped them amass numbers. I don't think PD going necessarily, I mean, it amasses a number of poorly.
You get poorly.
Yeah, but I do think that, I mean, it didn't, I guess what I would say is that it didn't hurt them amassing numbers, right? So if I thought it would make, so I have to already pare back that criticism and look at it now and be like, well, if you were able to do that, and still with everything you did, which should have made you even more of a target, or maybe even didn't help you amass numbers, if you were still able to amass numbers, what I look at is like, okay, you're doing that on the side. So that's why I look at, if you were doing that, then maybe you didn't even need to do it at all. Like, if you're running this like side amass the numbers thing, it feels like you can just kind of do nothing. But I think that once they've made so much good on that, and the issue was their positioning, and their positioning was something they built up so well, I don't know that it was, oh my God, I don't know, I'm giving myself an aneurysm. Like, I don't think it's results oriented to say that they then go and make good on it. So I definitely look back at the move differently, and I definitely criticize it less, just because if it's one part of their plan, they at least make good on it, or make it better. Is this work? I don't want to be results oriented. I hate that.
Well, I think there's a few things that do lean into your theory a little bit more, right? Like, so if you have the seeds of something, then you can say, okay, I'm not being results oriented. I just missed there was something there.
Exactly, it did 100%. Especially as viewers looking at an edit, we don't know,
right? Exactly, but I think when Laura goes home, and the narrative is that like everybody's mad at Miles for doing a thing, for going off script and doing a thing, and like we're all mad at Miles and AJ. Yeah, when PD goes home, right? But I don't think that's true. I think that like we were saying everybody, but we were really talking about like Logan and Zarin. I mean, not Zara. Zara's fine. Zara literally walks up and she's like, okay, we're cool. Karen and Logan were the two people that really pissed off. You think Kate and Morgan cared that PD was gone? Not really. Like,
they wanted PD to go, actually.
Exactly. So it's kind of like we were being told that everybody was mad, but the fact that everybody was not mad should tell you everything you need to know, right, about the numbers. The people who are mad are the people who are at the bottom. Karen and Logan and Kristen, they're at the bottom. Everybody else was fine. Kate, Morgan was fine. AJ was fine. Paulie is even happier with you than ever before. Kaylin's fine. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we misread that one. I don't think it's like results oriented. I think the moment that happens and everybody's reaction to PD going home, that should show you exactly where the numbers are, because nobody was like really that mad at Miles. There were a couple people who were, but who cares about what they think? Logan, Laura, Karen, they're on the bottom.
Yeah, Laura actually wanted PD out. But I think that it was like, again, it was shocking that he did it by himself without everyone. I think the dynamics was so different to what we thought. We saw Logan at the top as this like big threat, and we saw Miles at the bottom as having to make like a Hail Mary to try and amass numbers. Now, either the dynamics were different to what we thought, or they actively changed the dynamics to being different to that. Either way, it's a credit to them. Either we didn't have the information, or they actively changed it in a way that we can separately credit them. But I think when you look back at it, then it does change the move. It just changes the move to be like, oh, you can make a big move on Logan, and actually it's fine because Logan, while still always being a white whale and a big move, that's not going to upend everything as much as you want. So you can just do the fun, cool, flashy thing without like breaking open your entire game. Or maybe because you can separately get the numbers so well, maybe you do nothing. I think that's why I look at, and I do 70% to that. I think that's just why I look at it differently, because whether the dynamics were different to what we thought, which I think is less so because, again, they seem to not know that they would have Caden Morgan. That seemed to be a live decision after the fact, or because they changed the numbers, we have to credit that, and we have to look back at the fact that, like, okay, if you're the kind of people who could be in the capacity where you were soon going to be kings of the tribe, you're in a better spot than I thought, and you can the stakes were lower for you than I thought. I thought that they were at the bottom and really needed to push something to change their fate, and they changed their fate a different way. So I have to criticize them less for the move because there was just less stakes in the move. It wasn't the Hail Mary that I thought. It was just something they were maybe doing or not compared to the bigger plan of getting the numbers. Has this made sense? Because I can't sleep at night, Chappell. It's been a week since we freaking watched it, and I cannot sleep thinking, am I results oriented? Was it good? Was it bad? Was I wrong? I don't...
I think we were wrong in the moment. I think that's where I landed as well, right? I think
that's not what I said though. Is that what?
Yeah. I think we were because Caden Morgan, they were fine with PD going. So Miles doing a thing and taking out PD
would have been fine with Logan going. Everything is so different.
So it's no harm, no foul.
But he also could have done nothing. That's the thing. He could have done anything, and they were fine with PD going. They would have been okay-ish with Paulie going. And he would then have the ammo, and they still would have built that relationship. They would have been fine with Logan going, and he would have had the fireworks. I think that anything would have been fine because he was so okay otherwise, because they were doing so much stuff behind the scenes. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean that sounds about it. You know, I think that's it. I think we figured this one out. But listen, between me, Mike, and Puya, I think you've exhausted all of the possible.
No, and Oma, Marianne, and that. No, you're wrong.
Yeah, you brought in like other people. I'm poor Peter. You know, I don't know. I think that he's done. But yeah, I think that if you look at the tribe, like they were in the middle already, and that they were talking about Logan as somebody they needed to get, but then like they settled for PD, obviously. But PD does even just build another bridge between Kate and Morgan because they just did something that they wanted anyway. So it's kind of like factor. Yeah. You know, so it's like we're asking why they have Kate and Morgan. And it's like they've been working together for the last 2 votes, you know, essentially, or at least on the same side, you know, or working with their interests aligned. And so
that is it. That's it. How essential was the move that they did to getting Kate and Morgan? If it was very essential, then it's been the factor. Then it's a great freaking move, and it's the game builder. I don't think it's that. I think that Kate and Morgan are coming over to them anyway. I think AJ has done that socially, and then it just means that the move matters less because the game was won. This part of the game was won when they got Kate and Morgan. I don't think it was based on the PD move, but if you're saying that it really contributed to the relationship, then the stakes are higher. Then it's really well done. If they got Kate and Morgan separately, which is what I think, then the move just matters less. And yet here we are talking about it 1 week later. And will I sleep tonight? TBD. Hopefully. Chappell.
We shall see.
Solve it? It's been almost an hour of the podcast. We haven't done the chili.
I'm really looking forward to your deep dive at the end of the season with literally everybody because you need to know all the things.
I know. I want to ask Miles. Don't tell me now, Miles. I just want to ask Miles how much he thinks that move affected the position, or if he feels it was separate and they were just playing with house money. Does anyone enjoy this? Is this good?
They keep clicking it. They keep clicking it. Okay.
They click it.
Yeah, they click it.
Thank you for listening. The imposter syndrome of like, why is anyone listening is definitely real all the time. But I can't explain. I'm not faking the spiraling. I do think about it all the time. Like I think it hit something in my OCD of like, is it right? What was it? I just want to understand. Chizzy?
Izzy. Yeah, that's not going to be complicated at all.
I actually think it's really easy. Take it away, Jacob. Second Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. I think it's really easy. Are you having trouble with it?
I don't really know what it should like. We got this weird tribe purgatory thing, so I don't really know what like Like I want to give people credit for putting themselves in a good position, but up until you and I started talking, I thought this was different. I thought this was a split tribe, you know. And so yeah, so I'm looking at it. I think that I want to give it to Miles. I think that he's put himself in the position. I really liked where he was talking about Paulie and like how they were going to put Paulie in the minority to vote about. Again, stop being mean to Paulie. But at the same time, I remember I was looking at it as it was a split, and I was like, "Ooh, they're putting Paulie over there for numbers." But now that I know that they're putting Paulie over there to potentially vote him out, I'm still like, okay, that's good. This is still good for his game.
Paulie, poor Harvey Dent.
Yeah, bad for Paulie, but great for Miles, and so I'll give it to him. And that I give him 3. I'll give him 3 for sure. I'm trying to decide because AJ is so sloppy. Let me give the 2 to Kate. Give me the 2 to Kate. She wins immunity, and she gets to take her Olympian with her to the Bounty Tribe. So they're probably the favorites to win this challenge. They're already probably going to win anyway. So she's essentially almost immune for 2 episodes in a row just because. And she seems to be working with the majority. And obviously, Kate and Morgan's position in the game, or at least their 2 votes, have been crucial to what AJ and Miles have going on as well. So I want to give Kate the 2.
Okay.
Now, this is where it gets hard because I'm kind of torn between 2 people. I don't want to disrespect AJ any longer. I think that this is wild that he's even in this spot. I can't tell if people are looking at AJ like, this is the guy who tried to sacrifice us by throwing challenges. Like, we're not going to vote for him. Like, I don't know if they've gotten there yet. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like, he will be rewarded for his strategic moves. And it seems like he's pretty socially like good with everybody, except for the people he's not good with. And the people he's good with, outnumbers that. So that doesn't really matter. Matter of fact, I don't think there's many tribe machinations of Bounty and Baron that would have gotten him eliminated. I think he's still fine. So that's fun to think about. So I'll give the 1 point to AJ just because it's just too sloppy. It is. If you're gonna try to blindside Karen. It should not get back to her. If she has an idol or something like that, this could go really wrong for you. So you just gotta tighten up. That's all.
Well, to be fair, she doesn't know that they were ever coming for her. Like, she thinks it was like a Morgan Paulie vote, and then it's Logan.
See, for me, I think that when she's like trying to talk herself into like, why am I getting last minute plans? At that point, you should be suspicious. Like that for me, that's like that's where you should start thinking like, is it me? Am I the drama?
But is she? Yeah, it's like the call is coming from inside the house, but I don't know if she
right. It's like she's missing it. Right. She said something like, yeah, when I get information like this last minute, it just sounds kind of fishy. And I'm thinking, yes, you got it. It's right there. Perfect. And then she's like, okay, but we're like husband and wife. I'm like, no. Go back to the other thing. Like, and she did kind of like try in a weird way to get AJ. Like, she was like she was still going for Kate and Morgan because she wanted to work with AJ. But then she goes and votes AJ to Baron. So he's like, it's tough.
Yeah, voting AJ to Baron through a revote especially was really perplexing. Well, 3 votes for Miles for me on the positioning. The way he protects Karen, which is in his interest. The Logan vote was going through, which is what he wanted. The way they're handling Paulie is unfortunate. Side note. Still 3 points to Miles. 2 points to AJ. Look, his tact wasn't great. His approach wasn't good compared to Miles. So well positioned, and it's such a credit to him. And as long as these guys are on the top of the tribe and kind of untouchable, like, they're gonna have to keep getting points. And on that, I'm giving a point to Kaylin because those 3 are in the pound position. Now on Kaylin at a point. If you stand for nothing, what are you for? At a point, like, I think that he really, really wants to play the middle. He doesn't even want to be in the vote, and they have again like a 6 with him. Where they can do like 5, and then he'll be the 6th of the like a full majority. I mean, coming back to a 5 of 9 would also work, but that's their 6-person majority, and Paulie is not really even in it, so it's more of a 5-person majority. It's so interesting to see the relationships that he has had because we don't see a lot of Kaylin. That how invested Logan was in him when he votes her to Baron, and even then he's like, it's just a physical thing of balancing out the numbers. Like Kaylin. Yeah. Like the war has been won against Logan, and he's still like trying to play both sides of it. Like it's almost too middling for me.
That's why I like it. I don't like it.
He will like pick a side at a point. I mean, he's picked a side, but be Baron at a point.
But also, what is his end game? Is it just like, I'm going to go to the end with these 2, and like I will beat them because people like me more? Because I think like if you're being as like in the middle, you typically don't get rewarded for that. You know, people
What did
will
you talk about it at the end?
No. People need to stop doing that. People need to stop doing the whole like, I'm going to reveal at the end that I was in charge. Like, stop it. Stop shenanigans. People need to be on the jury talking about how you're the biggest threat before you have to say it. You should not have to be at the end, convince people or change people's minds, especially in a game like this that is super long. It's like, hey, they should be talking about you for weeks and hoping and praying on your downfall, you know, so that like by the time you like, they're hoping that you don't beat them, you know, at that point. They're rooting for your ops. I worry that he's getting rid of all the people that he can use his army to beat them. Because if Miles and AJ decide they're just gonna go with Kate and Morgan, then bye, Kaylin. We don't need you.
I think he's in a good spot with them though. And I think what's important about Kaylin is he's played the middle. And you might agree or disagree with the actual move, but he's done it very well. Like Logan is like, did you vote for me? Like Logan, do you understand what's happened here? He's
like,
he's also the reason even knew about your idol to try and flush it to make you a target.
Why didn't they make that a conversation? It was like, Logan, play your idol. Logan, play your idol. She should have been like, how do y'all know I have an idol?
Well, Tara knew that Logan had an idol, so I guess it. But like, how did you even know to try and split on me? Now, again, I gave a lot to Kaylin giving the information to AJ giving it to Miles, and then Miles using the idol to target Logan last time, but it might have been more social even than the idol, both in like how negatively social Logan has clearly been to people and also how positively social AJ and Miles were. Like it just was like winning the battle of relationships, which we credited as well. But painting that target of and making it like we have to split, even if it was just like on Laura, like maybe they don't want to part with Laura yet, but we have to go against that duo with an idol, was something Kaylin gave. And yet still here Logan's like, Kaylin, you voted me to Baron. Like, Logan, you don't even understand the length that Kaylin has gone to against you. Why are you even talking about him voting you to Baron? That's the least of the issues. That's how well he's played the middle. The fact that Logan...
He lost him weeks ago.
Exactly. And she still last time like, oh, I'm glad that he won immunity. And Miles is saying the same thing. Like, he has done it well. It just might come back to bite him either in like, I didn't realize how agent you were, or like, I'm particularly mad at you. It could go either way. He's done it very well, though. We have to credit that. And this three are the majority. Like, they have the power. Even though we don't see as much about Kaylin. I mean, look, we always just talk about an Australian Survivor. Being the second, being the Cara to the George, or like Jared to the AK, that's an old reference. I saw Jared the other day, by the way. That was, I happened to, you've seen that season. Remember Jared? Yeah, you watched it recently. Yeah, I saw it the other day. But yeah, and that was you've seen more than you let on. But I think that's always the tough part for screen time, is being the second. The Jared to the AK when they're going to give AK all the confessionals. Imagine being the third to Miles and AJ. Horrible edit spot. Good game spot. Better than you would think. Is doing it well. 1 point.
Is it a good game spot though? That's the thing. If you get to the end and you're also the third in everybody's mind, then you still lose, right? If they're like,
Miles and AJ, they'll be so pissed at them.
Yeah, you would think.
You could win that challenge and take AJ. AJ has a lot to exploit in the final too.
Yeah, you're right. And I think I'm often wrong about the final two votes in Australian Survivor. I'm always like, I'm often wrong. So maybe I just be looking at it the wrong way.
I mean, we don't even technically know if it's a final 3 or 2, obviously hoping 2, and then we're done with the non-elims, but there's a game there with Miles and AJ. They like the Rat and AJ, like, you know, stuff can be done. And I think if he can talk to his game, people might be upset. Anyway, a point to Kaylin. Those are the 3. I did consider Kate, but you know, and I think that Kate is in a good position of this majority now, which now, based on precedent, means she will flip to the bottom of a different majority. But I do think that this is like the 5, and Paulie's not really in it. But I think I don't know. Kate was a good option too, because they were looking to target Kate, but it was never going to happen. I'll keep it as is, but I am looking at Kate in a way that maybe in the future she will, you know, because she and Morgan are in a good spot. I feel like that is the KJ relationship that she should be credited for.
Right. We need more. We need more confessions from her point of view, I think, to really understand like what she's doing in the game and Kaylin, like how she's driving. Yeah, especially Kaylin. Right. Like I was shocked when we got like a strategic confessional this episode where he actually said what he wanted to. I was like, oh, here it is. You know. But yeah, I think that we'll never know if they got to show Kate more. So we'll know if like there's no way you plan on taking AJ and Miles that much further. Do they have like? Do they have plans for Kristen? Do they have plans for maybe Paulie? Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, we went over an hour because we spiraled. Well, one of us spiraled for 30 minutes about results-oriented thinking, and the other one was me. No, it was thank you, Chappell, for indulging my absolute worst impulses. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, I was very happy to talk to you about this episode because I was like, this one is going to now, mind you, I went into this thinking that we were talking about a whole different episode, apparently,
Really glad I
because we,
clarified.
we
Yeah.
really, I'm so glad because we'd have
I
wasted so much
delete
time.
so many notes. Well, I still talked about
So
what
much
I
time.
wanted, which was what I
Yeah.
thought it was.
We
Spiral
look,
on
we
that,
talked about
yeah.
both episodes. The episode we thought we
Yeah.
were gonna get and the episode we actually got.
Boy.
But yeah, but people can find me on Recap Kickback. Go to recapkickback.com/subscribe and subscribe to the podcast. And then you can hear more content from me. And I'll take requests. So let me know what it is you want me to talk about, and I'll figure out a way to talk about it.
Yes. Well, do all that. Subscribe. Watch Chappell. Listen to Chappell. Thank you all for listening. I put this online that like it warms my heart to see. I go to the charts. I said I wouldn't, but I do. And like it warms my heart to see the podcast against all the Married at First Sight stuff. It's not just Survivor competing against Married at First Sight. It's also me. There's a lot of Married at First Sight podcasts with a bigger viewership than Survivor. So to see the Survivor podcast amongst that and on the Discoverable page, I always want to be like top 12 in TV and film because then it's on the page. This is just something that matters to me. Thank you all for listening. Why are you doing that? Questions abound, but at Shannon Gates, we know globalsurvivor.com. Puya and Mike will be back on the recaps this week. We have Caroline on the feedback show. We'll have an exit interview. We had Eden on Global. That'll be out by now. A lot going on. Chappell. Thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Again, thank you to our team behind the scenes, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.